Welcome to another interview for the Logan Writers Festival 2023. Thank you so much for joining me today,
That's
Kathy
okay.
Shanks.
I didn't know I was joining you for this, but that's okay.
You know what? Surprise!
Yeah, I'm good with that. I can run with it.
yeah. No, it's an absolute pleasure. I'm so excited to have you on a panel
Cool,
this year.
thanks. I'm excited.
You have one of the most unique publishing agencies in Logan.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. If you had a physical shop and it was attached to a coffee shop, I would live there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Please tell the people on the other side of the camera what you do and who you are.
What I do, so my name's Kathy from Turtle Publishing. Been publishing books for about 3 years, but I have been a graphic designer and self-employed graphic designer for 21 years. It was my 21st birthday last year.
Actually, Kathy, so when you look at my logo, there's an RDE in there for my initials. I'll get you to upgrade that when I get married.
Yeah.
But the RDE was designed by Kathy. I sent her a rough design and she made it into this beautiful golden, like ancient looking, it was perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I'd forgotten I'd done that because that was quite some time ago. Yeah, so I started writing my own books, and then I learned how to put a book on Amazon in a way that it can be seen, heard and found. So people throw books on Amazon all the time and nobody can find them. Or you don't sell any. So yes, you might be a published author, but it's not selling any books on Amazon because nobody knows it's there. So I have learnt how to have my own books found. I've run Amazon campaigns to my books, and I've managed my clients' campaigns to make them profitable. So they're spending money on advertising but making money out of it. Which is how you sell your books, but it also helps the Amazon algorithm to find you more organically for other people. So it has a flow-on effect. So I do that, but I also publish books for everybody. I help them get their books ready for print on demand. Many people, you can self-publish. Many people who are at this festival will be self-publishers. What I do is I facilitate people who find it challenging. There's 60,000 decisions you need to make when you publish a book, and sometimes you make a decision on day one that affects it on day 150 and you go, crap, I've got to go back and fix that entire thing. So I shortcut that. I just published quite a few books for people recently, and they've had the dream of publishing this book, or they've had a manuscript on their computer for 20 years and we've had it out in 2 months, 3 months.
I love that.
That's what I do, I just shortcut it for people because you want to concentrate on writing as a writer, so I just get everything done. And even if you want to do the process yourself a lot of the way, I can tell you how to do this and that and this and that, so that you don't go down the pathway that's wrong and have to come back. So I've known people to do children's books and get to the end and be like, oh, this is going to cost me $29 to print. I have to sell a book for $80 to make any money. And I'm like, you've got to make the right decisions at the beginning. 100%.
Yes.
And I think everyone who's tried to do it on their own has figured that out.
And I feel like there's a big divide between I write stories and I'm a good storyteller and I can publish books. These are two vastly different fields. It's it's the difference between figure skating and wrestling. Or polo. They're just incredibly different, and you've got to put on very different hats for both of these things.
You've got to switch your brain off to do one, because I do write books as well. And I do a lot of journals, and because I like design and I like pretty things, so I create a lot of journals. Which is where it started, but I found this passion to really help people do it and to help people realize a dream in such a short period of time is quite spectacular. It's really rewarding for me. I love it.
It's like you're giving, it's like a spiritual birth. Because it's a spiritual birth that men can have as well. Because when you see that physical copy of the book in front of you,
nothing beats that.
You
It's
spent
amazing.
months or years writing and then piling over with your editing and trying to figure out, well, what's a synopsis? Is that a blurb? You go through this whole early parenting sort of thing for this book, and then you finally see it shiny in your hands, and it feels so magical.
It does. So to get in the box of books for the first time is just so exciting. It's hard to beat that feeling. And I still get really excited when I get a brand new book and I'm like, oh, I've got a hard copy, because it's not the same as an ebook. It's it's a physical copy and it's wonderful. So it's just a matter of helping people get that faster and more accurately. But not only that, is to help them do it in a way that they get what they want in the end product, because sometimes it arrives and it's not quite what you had anticipated. So I can really talk through all the pitfalls and the way to get the best value for your money in terms of being able to sell a product for a good price.
Yeah.
So there's lots of decisions to make.
You just made me think of one of the mistakes I made, was that I always have my screen brightness up full.
Yeah.
And I thought that the colours that I was putting on my covers, that was how it was going to come out.
Yeah.
And it was very bright and a vivid blue on my computer, and it was nearly black.
Yeah, yours
when it printed.
Dark blue.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So it was nearly black. It was like only a few shades blue. You had to look at it in the light.
Yeah.
And I was a bit upset about that.
Yeah.
But you realize that everything on a screen is backlit, and so it has a light shining behind it, which is what gives it that.
RGB colours as opposed
Yes.
to white. That's a graphic design thing.
Yeah.
That's where my experience as a designer comes through, because I can design, like when I first started designing, it took me about 10 years to produce a document that would actually print the way I wanted it to do. There'd always be something I'd go, oh, that's not quite right, or this isn't, and it takes a lot, especially if you've got photographs in your book. People are always surprised at how dark they come out. And
Yes.
I know the type of printing that they use, like in the Ingram Spark, for on-demand printing. Like I know the type, like how it's going to come out, and I can tell from my screen that, because most people's photos will come out too dark in books. I mean, this is just one of those like really specific things. And I had a client, he has the most absurd books about Irish cats and Italian cats and how to know your cats. He's hilarious. He lives over in US somewhere, I can't remember where.
Is that the German fellow?
No, that's my other right. He's actually might be coming to the.
Excited! I'm so keen to meet this.
Yes,
there's some fantastic
he's
stories
fantastic.
about this gentleman.
Yes, he's fantastic. But you know, my cat guy, he's hilarious. I've actually promoted his books a couple of times on my site. So like, he had a St. Patrick's Day one. But anyway, he approached me because he wanted to create a book that had all pictures throughout, and he's like, they're always going to come out too dark. I'm like, yeah, it's because of this reason and that reason, blah 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 blah. So he's given me those books to manage so that I can make sure the images are the right consistency, so the inconsistency comes out, so it looks good when it's printed.
Yes.
This is my design skills coming out. It translates to book stuff.
Yeah. One day I might get my maps in my books printed in colour, but for now I'm very happy with just black and white. That does the trick.
Yeah.
But for me, I always have issues with Ingram Spark and them saying the pictures are too low resolution. And I'm like, well, if it's any higher, then it's going to be like 100 megabytes of book you've got here just for the pictures plus. So calm your farm, Ingram.
Yeah. Yeah, I see a lot of people having problems with print results and whatnot in Ingram. And I would have to say 99% of the time it's user error.
Yes, yes. Oh, I see. I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. But I can understand how a lot of people out there would be like, but what have they done to my book? Because it looked fine on my screen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well.
Yes. Yeah. There's it's all those little things, and they really add up to the end result. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So, Ingram always recommends you print a sample proof before. I don't generally do that. I'll go and print 100 copies of a book at a time because I'm pretty good at knowing what I'm going to get is the end result. But if you are an amateur writer, never done it before, get the proof because something's going to be wrong. Guaranteed.
Don't do what I do and not leave time to get the proof.
Yeah, I do that
before you do other things like Supernova or expos or festivals or a book launch.
Yeah.
I've had books late to a book launch before. It's so embarrassing.
I've been watching the postman come. He better come today with those books.
I think my last 4 book launches, I've had my books late. And I'm like, they said 3 days, not 5 days.
Yeah. Ingram is notoriously late. We're pretty lucky in Australia. They're pretty good. They're worse overseas from what I can gather. But
I've always found that Ingram's been pretty good with me. I always just look at when they say, oh, it'll be 3 to 7 days. I'm like, 3 days. Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. No, it's actually go 5 to 9 days in your head. Then you're not disappointed.
Yeah. No,
but they are pretty good.
And you're right though. The only time I've had issues is really user error. And chopping and changing things in the middle of process. And
there's nothing wrong with that. It just means you've got to give up more time. You've got to be more prepared. If you are preparing launches, you've got to be ahead of the game. Where it's,
Yes.
I can send a book and know it's going to arrive most of the time accurate. It's pretty rare that it's wrong, and if it's wrong, it's because the writers decided you want to change something or do something different at the last minute and whatnot. So if you're doing it all yourself, you do need to allow lots of extra time.
Yes.
Because you're learning a whole new skill. Like,
Yes.
it's a whole new world. And this is what I talked about with all my clients. Like, they could self-publish everything all themselves, or they could keep writing and get me to do all the other bits and pieces.
Yes.
Because the amount of time you spend trying to publish, you could have written another book.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I don't think I've written for about a year.
Yeah.
After I finished the 10th Wolflock Cases book. So I can, it's just busyness.
Yeah.
It's just being too busy to do the things that I want to be doing, which is writing.
Yeah.
But it was also partly I needed a break.
Yeah.
But like, don't do what I do. I'm not an example. No one can do what I do.
Yeah. I spend a lot of time doing my own clients' books. I've got about 5 books I really want to get out really soon. I've got one for Halloween, Neil, almost ready, and I need to finish it and get it prepared so that it's good for Halloween.
Yes.
In saying that, I do a lot of books that I target specifically to overseas markets and whatnot. So I don't put them on my page or anything. I just put them out there into the world, and then I run everything through Amazon.
Yes. And what kind of books are you doing that with? Because there's certain genres and certain types of books that really lend themselves to that format.
Yeah. I do a lot of journals, but most of my journals you'll be able to find on my website. Because they're all under my name, and then I've got a few random books. Like, I've got this kids Halloween book that I wrote, which I really like the story, and had some illustrations done, so I've just got to tidy it up and put it all back together. So for me those books are just about building a bit of a revenue income stream, while I'm still doing the other things that I really love, but it's something that I'm enjoying, so it's something fun. So those sort of so you could write a book. So this is how, if you're one of my clients that wanted to write a book to create credibility, I would help you find a keyword within your genre, within what you want to write. So you're talking mostly fiction books. I do a lot of non-fiction books. So, but I target those non-fiction books to specific markets, to specific niches that I've done keyword searches and whatnot for. So there's certain niches that I try and find that I'll write a book specifically just to fit in a slot that isn't really fulfilled in the marketplace.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I help my clients who want to build credibility and have a non-fiction book or a do-it-yourself type book where you're giving instructions. It's very different from writing fiction, and that's a whole different way of marketing. So I have 2 different ways you can, actually there's 5 different ways you can do things, but so there's quite a few ways of generating books specifically for the purpose of making money, also specifically for telling certain stories or building credibility within your industry, or there's different purposes for books.
Yes.
So
and I think that there's heart and soul books that you write because you've got that story that bubbles up inside you and it has to pour out. But people don't realize, a lot of authors don't realize, there are a whole subset of books you can base off that book. So if you're writing any kind of fiction, you can have journals, diaries, notepads, you can have calendars, you can have whatever is that book that is whatever that book is based around, you can then have a whole bunch of extra things surrounding it.
So I wrote this book initially on how to journal. Then I created 4 different journals that match this book. Then I created affirmation books that match that book. So it's a brand. So, and as an author of any type of genre, you can do that. It's like you can create, if you've got fictional characters, you can create colouring books from those characters. Colouring books is a massively overloaded niche, but if you've got a popular following for your characters, then you can sell those as an add-on and create your whole brand and packaging and bring it all together. So
it's a very similar thing to what J.K. Rowling did with the Harry Potter series, or rather what the people she published through encouraged. I don't really think it was her idea to bring out Quidditch Through the Ages and Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. They were just probably side notes that they were these are good side notes. Let's put these into a book. History of magic, and they've all of these historical texts or character bio texts, and then you've got all the activity booklets. So it can explode from there.
Yeah.
And it's only limited by how creative you are with what your audience may appreciate.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something like, when I was thinking, work really well for fantasy, it would work really well for any kind of adventure book. How would it go with horror? There's actually coloring books for like famous scary monsters and serial killers and villains and all sorts of things. So you're limited by your imagination when it comes to these things.
Yeah, and even if you're like doing a non-fiction book about your industry, you can actually create books full of informative lists and that sort of thing. So some books come from that, just really, really simple books. So you can actually generate a little collection of books and then you can use that to build your credibility within your business.
100%.
Yeah, so I mean, I've considered writing a book on how to write a book, but there is quite a few of them out there, so I'm like, I'll leave that one for now.
They do sell very well.
They do sell very well.
How to write a book and how to sell books is very popular.
Yeah, I've read quite a few.
Yeah, me too.
They're great.
Me too.
Yeah.
Actually spent money on them.
Yes, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's so good. Oh, so you will be on our publisher panel for the Logan Writers Festival, and it's going to be fantastic to have you up there.
I can't wait.
I had no idea that there were so many good small publishers through Logan and people that can help you write your book, like Kathy.
Yeah.
And there's people that understand different genres so incredibly well. Like that is their niche and they can help you be successful in those areas. So reach out to Kathy before the festival and then come and buy some books from her.
Yeah.
This is how I start.
This is how they look at my office sometimes. After I've been referencing them 5 different times for different things. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Exciting.
So what are some of the key things that you find help authors along their journey when it comes to publishing?
There's so many things. Key things is really, I think, defining what your book's for. And the purpose of your book. So I've done this for my entire career as a designer, is having the end in mind, and I work backwards.
Yeah.
So if you want to write a book, why are you writing the book and who you're talking to, and like treat it like a marketing like little experiment, or write out who you're writing the book for, not just writing it just for the fun of it, and then you might have a marketable product at the end if you think about it right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So I've known people to rewrite entire books based on feedback from developmental copyrighted editors.
Yes.
Yeah. So because based on the feedback, they haven't really spoken to an audience.
Yes.
So if you figure out who you're writing for and what you want to do with the book, I think that's key. Like you can produce a book in many different ways. You can go to a publisher who's going to do it all for you, and you get a publishing contract type of thing, or you can try and self-publish it. But then what are you going to do with that, and how are you going to do that? And I just think having that big picture in mind makes a big difference.
Yes.
And absolutely. I think what you did with your books is where you've written all 10 books and you just powered through them and done them, because I was watching you do it as you were doing them.
Watching me go slowly insane.
And I think some people think because I've got one client who's got a book out, and he said to me, let's wait and see how it goes. I'm like, no. Keep going, because sometimes your book won't become known until the 5th book.
Yeah.
And then everyone goes, oh, these are great, and then they read all of them. Personally, I quite often don't watch TV series until they're all out and finished, and I'm like, oh, it's finished. Oh, I might watch it now.
I do the same thing.
And it could have 20 seasons, and I haven't hooked into it until the end. I make the mistake occasionally.
I very rarely do this. My friends will say to me, you've got to read this book, or you've got to watch this show, or you've got to, watch this movie. And I'm like, all right, is it a series? And they're like, yes, of course it is.
Yeah.
Like, is it finished? And they're like, well, I'm like, no, I'm not touching it.
Is it halfway through the season? Because I'll just wait till they're around. But it's the same with books.
I made that mistake with Bridgerton, and I'm just so glad that the books are all out.
Oh, yes.
The books got done 20 years ago.
Yes.
But the TV show is vastly different to the books.
Yeah.
It's significantly different.
We all know the book's always better. Come on. Almost always. No?
The books don't have the same level of complexity as the show has.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the books really follow the one couple, and that's the entire focus of the book. Single couple, and so none of the kids get any say in it. None of the other members of the society get much interaction with anything. So I find that this is one of those very rare occurrences that, you know, there's more in the show than there is in the books. And it may be that changes because I've only read the first 2 books so far, but it was very fascinating for me to see that.
Well, I've only known one book to be like that, which was The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, really?
I read the book before I ever watched the show, and I didn't really get into it, and I didn't finish it. Then I watched the show and went, oh my god. So I went back and read the book, enjoyed the book, but I still love the show more. Yeah. But that's, I think, one of the only ones.
Oh, that's fascinating.
So, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, but I haven't read Bridgerton, so.
You know what, I'm a sucker for Regency stuff.
Yeah.
Absolute sucker for it. Anything medieval or Regency, I'm like, I'll have more. Give me a buffet.
Yeah. See, I'm a sucker for dystopian worlds.
Oh,
it's my favourite.
I had to stop. I had to limit myself with that because I became a sucker for it, but I became incredibly depressed and disillusioned with the world itself. Yeah. Because countries were taking it as a handbook of what to do, and I'm like, this is fiction. Stop.
I must say, when I was about 15, I stopped reading serial killer books because they were really popular around when I was 15 to 18. And I tell you, I couldn't go anywhere without freaking.
Was that like the Hannibal Lecter ones and things like that?
Yeah, I think after that, like a lot of the John Grisham books, and I can't even remember what I was reading, but I just had to stop. It was just taken over my mind.
It's incredible how we have these patterns that go through everything like that. It's so fascinating. And it's so cool to stay with the trends of what's happening in the literary world as well. And I think that's one of the reasons the Bridgerton books maybe don't feel as good as the show, because they were written 20 years ago. And romance, you were like, there was a limited amount of things that you could entertain yourself with, especially when it came to romance. And so to draw out those scenes for as long as possible felt like it was feeding you. Now it feels like it's tedious. So there's that difference, which I was like, okay, like I feel like this scene should have ended about 2 paragraphs ago. Can you guys just get moving? Do something. Just stop whatever you're doing now. Interesting stuff. Really interesting stuff. Now, how do you go about putting out your journals?
I do have all my stuff on Amazon, but sales through Amazon for journals is pretty crap.
I was thinking that, like low content books on Amazon is, people rave about it because it's easy to put them up, but I don't expect the sales to be that big.
And I think there's a lot of hype, people trying to sell their expertise. Create a journal, you'll make heaps of money out of it, blah, 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 blah. And I don't believe it because I see the ones that are on there that are making a lot of money, they're super cheap. And so they're obviously being bulk manufactured and they can sell them cheap. I want a journal that's full colour and pretty like this.
Absolutely.
So to print this and sell it in Australia on Amazon, I think it's on Amazon for about $18, $19. It's probably over $20. I can't remember.
Stunning though.
But I can print them through Ingram and sell them through my website cheaper because it's not going through all that rigmarole of Amazon. So for low content books, yes, 100% you can put them on Amazon. If you've got a following, you'll sell them. But you've got to sell them. You've got to have other ways of selling them. Even advertising costs too much money. So what I've actually done is I wrote this book, which explains my journals. This journal actually links to a storybook. It's a book full of stories about 10 different women who've overcome stuff. So that's my journal, and my story is in that book. It's the first.
Is that the one that was released last year?
So I think you know a few of the other authors as well.
We've had about 2 or 3 of them were speakers at the Writers' Festival last year. Incredible book and some phenomenal journeys that go into that book, and the stories are just mind-blowing. So if you haven't seen that one, jump on to the interviews from last year, because you will see several of the authors from that. What was it called? It wasn't Rise, was it?
No, you're thinking of a different compilation because ours came out this year.
Oh, yours came out this year?
Yes.
Oh.
No. Oh my God, what month is it? No, that came out the end of last year.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Early this year.
Okay.
you're thinking of one done by somebody else, and they're amazing stories as well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Similar concept.
You can take all of the praise I just said for that one as if it was for your one, because I'm pretty.
It's the same,
I
different.
feel like I've got both of them, but I've got
Yeah.
one on the to be read pile and one's been read.
Yeah. 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 So, no, I love those compilation story books because they're full of people who don't normally write, and they've taken on something brand new and written stories, and they've written something very personal that's changed their life. Or there's quite a few of the compilations out. There's quite a few different people doing it, and they're all fantastic. They're all really good.
Yeah.
I think I know the one you're talking about because it was at the festival last year, and I was talking to the author.
I'm racking my brain for the title of it.
Yeah.
But what was the title of your one?
It's Overcome and Succeed with Gratitude.
Oh,
so it's all about gratitude.
Yeah.
So my compilation books are unique because I focus on how to use journaling to overcome stuff. So I get the authors to not only share a story but also share their process of how they've improved their lives, because I'm very much an action person. I like to do things.
Yes.
So I think it's really cool to read stories and they go, oh, that's really nice, and then you don't do anything. Whereas what we've done is written a story, shown you how you can overcome something and use the same process that we've used, and it's all done by people who use different things in their life in terms of their business. So it relates to their business, so they're using it to share what they do but also share something personal. And none of them, I think in the last one, two of them had written before and the others hadn't.
Oh wow.
So I get to work with
exciting.
And that's really exciting because I get their first draft, which is sometimes like 2 paragraphs, and they're kind of like, I think I'm like, I don't know how else to go. And so we'll go backwards and forwards, and we'll do probably about 5 or 6 drafts. And one of the first ones we did, she's written in each one, and so her writing has changed from the first one to the last one. Where the first one she did, we went back and forth a lot of times, and we had a lot of conversations, and it was great. I absolutely love it, and this is the rewarding part of doing that process, is because these people who've never written before get to write stuff. So it's but her last one she wrote, I think she did 1 draft, and I just sent a copy back. My editing comments were just a few embellishments on a few different things and switched a couple of things around, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, it's amazing. So
Beautiful.
it's pretty cool to see that process in somebody. Really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you will be able to see all of Kathy's stuff, meet several of her authors, I hope,
hopefully,
at the Logan Writers Festival this year. So make sure you come along, because the publishing panel is going to be exactly what you need to achieve your dreams and fulfill your journey as an author. We will see you then and there. Thank you so much for coming today, Kathy.
Thank you. It was great.